so good. I mean, this was really excellent. Now, what's everybody in the class doing? I hope it's my paper. I hope it's my paper. All right, next. Number 3 way of doing that. Write them a card or a note. My wife really is good at this. She'll write notes and cards. Sometimes some of us do this easier in print. You can rewrite it and rethink it. Number 4, call them on the phone. Now, let's say, this is really good. Let's say you're teaching 11-year-olds, all right? What you need to do is wait till supper time. Everybody hates to be called at supper. That's when you call. Why? I'll show you in a minute. Supper time comes, and you have 30 kids in your class. So let's say you call one every Wednesday, 6 o'clock, every Tuesday. Hello, may I speak to Johnny? Well, the parent usually answers at supper time because they're kind of ticked. You say, well, this is supper time. Who is this? This is Mr. Jones, Johnny's teacher. I need to talk to him. Oh, Johnny, this is you. What on earth did you do, son? Poor Johnny, man. Oh, Dad, nothing. Oh, Dad, I don't know. Hello? Hello? Hello, Johnny? Yes. Father's like this. I just was in the middle of grading the papers. Huh? And I just finished grading yours, and it was so good. I mean, it was an A+, Johnny. It was? Yes, and I wanted to call you and tell you how proud I was of you, son. Didn't give an expectation. And, Johnny, I just wanted to call you and tell you, I think you're wonderful. Bye. And hang up. Kids. What did he say, Johnny? He just called to say, I got an A+ and how glad he was to have me in class, Dad. I mean to tell you, you made that boy look good in front of his whole family. At dinner time. Now, how does Johnny come to your class the next morning? Oh, he wants to hug your leg, man. He is so happy to see you. And the last one is, if you really want to be creative under this one, is send something unusual. If you're having trouble with a teenager in your class and you can't get through, here's what you do. You go to Domino's Pizza or Pizza Hut and you say, I would like to pay for a pizza delivered at this house. Here is the money. But I want to write something on the box. On the box. What's thinking about you? It's a pleasure having you in class. Enjoy the pizza. It's on me. Extra cheese. Thick on the pepperoni. Pick words precisely. Hey, when you're doing this, don't say, hey, dummy, get over here. You know, I'm going to tell you something important. I mean, you know, be affectionate in your words. Next, establish eye contact directly. You star that one. There's 2 of them I want you to star. That's one of them. When you get down to doing this, oftentimes I'll do this in work, and I'm behind the desk, and there's somebody over here, and the meeting's concluding. I'll come around my desk, and that person will stand up, and they'll start walking to the door, and then I'll stop, and they have to stop because I've stopped. And they'll talk, and I will. This isn't something you're making. This becomes you. You're not going through step 1, step 2, step 3. You're just living. And then when you say your thing, you want that to just go right down those eyes and hold them. Get that contact. If the person looks down like this, like teenagers will frequently, they'll go, you know what you do? Just go. Get those eyes. Don't you dare give it without owning those eyes. Just find them and just hold them. Use those eyes. And the next one, communicate body language carefully. Carefully. Remember we talked about that in the whole issue of our resource guide. It has all those nonverbal signals. If you're giving an affirming one, don't be like this. We really think you're wonderful. We think you're really going to become something. Get your body. What does that mean? That means always be leaning forward a little bit. Always have palms up. Not down, never like this, not like this. Just have them kind of up. Up is receptives. It's all part of life. Lean a little bit. Get those eyes. Nod a little bit. Move. This affirms a person. Don't stand still. Don't sit behind your desk. Come around. Get close. Say it. Blossoms come better when you're close. Next. Touch others appropriately. Star that one. That's the other one I want you to know. I've already mentioned a little bit how to do this, but I want to tell you what happened to me one night. I was working late at the office, and it was Friday night, and I unfortunately had to go out to a conference, and everything in me said, I wish I wasn't going to the conference. I was tired, I was exhausted, I was shot. The last thing I want to do is go out and minister to somebody else. And I was working late and had my briefcase and a bunch of other stuff, and I was going out my office, going down the hall here, to go out this door, in the lobby, outside, and my father, who works at Walk Through the Bible with us, which is a great pleasure to us, he came around. He was working late as well. And he read me like a son. That's what I am. And he read it in my body language as I walked out the door. It just was there. I didn't expect anybody, and I was just letting it hang out. And he said, just a minute, Bruce. Let me carry some of that for you. I said, no, Dad, it's okay. He said, no, set them down. Okay. Always obey your dad. He said, look at me for a minute. So I looked at him. And I'll never, this chokes me up even when I tell this story. He walked right over, looked me in the eye, did not say a word, and then gave me a hug. Now, I don't mean a little hug. I mean a hug. And he didn't let go. And then he said, Mom and I know you're under a lot of pressure. But we're so proud of you, son. It's such a delight to be at Walk Through the Bible with you. And God's going to use you in a mighty way this weekend. And I just love you. By the time he let go of me, I was just weeping. He picked up both box and briefcase, and I kind of walked out the door, and he said, give me your keys. I said, oh, Dad. He said, no. He unlocked the door. I sat down, and he shut the door, and he said, it's going to be great. And I remember as I drove around our little circle in front of the office and then turned right to go down to the freeway, I said to myself, it's going to be a great weekend. His blossoming me took an empty battery and just filled it up. And most of it was the touch. Touch them appropriately, but touch them. And the last one, set expectations confidently. My friends, this works. Don't you ever wonder if it'll work. It works. Let me close with a story. I got permission from Becky to tell you this story. In my last year of college teaching, in a senior class I had of Bible study methods, I noticed that some of the students I hadn't had before, and in grading their first sets of paper, I remember grading through these college senior papers and coming to one that that looked like this, and it had ketchup right here. And it had ketchup, honestly, it had ketchup. And it was halfway down and it was an F. And I looked at the name, I said, I don't even know who that Becky is. And I put an F on the top, and I wanted to put a minus behind it, but I never did that. And then next class, I really paid attention. Who was this Becky? She sat in the very back corner. Her hair was a mess. Her clothes looked like the paper. She was not in good shape. And I tried to give her eye contact and didn't get very far in the class. And I remember collecting that second set of papers, and I sat down and flipped right through to Becky's paper to find out what, it was no ketchup and not wrinkled, but it was another failure paper. And I remember in my office, sitting back on that chair, saying to the Lord, without even praying, but kind of praying, Lord, maybe Becky's supposed to be our project this semester. And I said to him, would you give me the creativity and love unconditionally to blossom Becky this semester? And yeah. So I took the bottom of her paper and I wrote on the bottom of it, Dear Becky, I believe that this paper does not reflect the real you. I can't wait to see it. Prof, no grade. Next paper that came in was about a D-. Dear Becky, thanks for cracking the door just a little bit. I don't think I'm wrong about you. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. No grade. Why? Grade would be a D. Prof, D's don't help. Next paper came in was 2 pages long. It was a C, a solid C. Dear Becky, I can't wait to see what your next paper is going to be looking like. Prof. Next paper came in was about 4 pages long. It was almost an A. Dear Becky, next time. Prof. Next paper that came in was right off the roof. I wrote on the top of that paper, said, Dear Becky, I'm now standing on the top of my desk cheering. I always knew you had it in you. I believe you are going to become one of our class's greatest Bible students. And it is a pleasure to watch you in my class. A+. By the end of that semester, guess who was undebated leader in the class? It was Becky. God led us away from that college, and we moved to Atlanta, 3,000 miles away. Years went by. I forgot all about this. And I got a letter in the mail, and it had marked on the outside, personal. And my secretary never opens those kinds of letters. And she delivered it, and she said, do you know who this is? I said, no, I don't recognize that person at all. And I opened it up, and I have this letter at home in a special file that I keep for these kinds of things. When I get to the point I want to quit the ministry, I read the file. And in that letter, part of the letter goes like this. Dear Dr. Wilkinson, I just had to write you a letter after all these years. You don't recognize my name because I'm now married and have 2 children. I don't know how to thank you. You are the first person in my entire life to ever believe anything good about me. Your class totally changed my life. I'm now happily married, and I have 2 wonderful children. And I honestly believe, had I not met you, I probably today wouldn't be married. Love, Becky. You see, my friends, expectations unbelievably influence a lifetime, don't they? I had no idea how deeply Becky had been touched, and oftentimes you won't either. You don't see that till far in the future. Do you remember that striking comment about this very same thing made by Christa McAuliffe, the teacher who flew with the Challenger? She said, I touch the future. I teach. You teach. You touch the future. How are you going to touch the future? Think about it for a moment. What kind of fingerprint will you leave on the future? Well, it's time now, isn't it? It's time to commit to touch the Beckys of your life, to expect the best of them, to blossom them. I want you right now at the bottom of your notebook page, underneath where it says, I commit to expect the best. Then why don't you join with those who do touch the future, who blossom every one that they teach. Put your initials down there and date it. Go ahead. Commit to it. And now I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit different. I want you just to think for a moment right here about someone in your life who's perhaps sitting in the back row of your class. Maybe whose papers have ketchup on them. Someone who needs your touch. I can't touch them. And maybe no one else can touch them but you. Perhaps